Hello and welcome into the SorareData Strategy Show. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined a day late and a day and 2 minutes late by Sean Newsham, PSU fans 2. Sean, I don't like the music that I picked for the intro.
I mean, for those that aren't aware, you sent me a song that I was a big fan of and thought you should use, but you said no because it was too rated R for the show. Do you remember that song you sent me?
Yeah, I was actually less about that than more just like I don't think lyrics make sense when it's like
Well,
not about our show.
the lyrics were pretty on point with our
That's a good.
show.
Didn't I send that to you? I thought I sent it to you. No,
Yeah, you
is the
said
other
it.
way
I'm
around.
saying that like that, in my opinion, was a great option, but you're so PG layered. You don't let us have any fun over here.
Yeah. And the lyrics were something about like not caring what other people think, wasn't it? Something like that. I'm always right. I don't care what people think. Frankly, it really was about
It
us.
was
But
it was a very fitting. There was some swear words in there that aren't allowed to be mentioned. The overall, it made a lot of sense. It was a very fitting like anthem to the show, but unfortunately, you squashed it and did not let us have the fun.
I did. But I was listening to that just now, and I'm like, that's not working. I'm gonna have to go back and figure out something else. So if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to send those in. Thank you to everybody who has joined us for the live chat here. There was some excitement, I think, about the topic we were going to talk about today. U23s get people really excited anyway. It's funny to me because this comes right after our friend Perez said he's giving up on U23, or not so much giving up, but he's branching out. And my response to that was like, he definitely should not do that because I don't compete against Perez now because I don't play U23. And now he's coming into my streets, which are not really mine. They're just ones that I happen to walk on. But I don't know. I hope he reconsiders because yeah, I don't want to have to compete with him.
I don't.
But
I
anyway,
don't think. We'll see. I don't think that he's really gonna like it per se, because he's gonna. What's gonna happen is like he'll win like a tier 1, and it'll be worth like 0.3 ETH, and he'll be like, WTF, because he's used to it being worth like 0.8 because he only
right.
wins U23 cards. I do think he already made the transition.
He did. Oh yeah, no, he's definitely in.
Yeah, to some extent, he's bringing in some guys that are just not like the best. But I know what like he's thinking about. I mean, he's thinking about bringing in Carlos Gil. So like, how bad can you really be if you're bringing in Carlos Gil, right?
I mean, we both think that he's a very good Sorare player, and he's like, I'm going to start playing non U23, and his immediate thought is like, I should go get the best player. So like, we're not going to argue about that.
No, never. I mean, definitely understand where his thought process is with it. He's not fully moving out of U23.
No,
Also,
no, no.
he's just shifting from D2 U23, which it was sort of spurred from this weekend. Like he put up like he mentioned it to me like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I still think the Division 2s and the Super Division are good divisions. He does not think as much that it's a good division because he just thinks that people are now going to prioritize it more than they were, and the scores you're likely going to need are going to be very, very high. Like I'm going to look real quick and see what it was. So this week, to get up on the podium of U23 super rare, because that's what we're going to compare to. Like you needed 526 points for U23 super rare podium compared to game week 342, which was the previous weekend before that happened, I believe, and you needed 427. So obviously, 1 week sample doesn't really fully work in there, but you
What?
can
What do you
definitely see
mean?
like,
What do you mean? I saw these tweets about the threshold. One
well,
game week's more than enough, Sean.
I still think you're wrong on that. The threshold was pretty evident that
We're
like
arguing about different things about the threshold.
it's way off. I also agree. Obviously, 1 week sample is not a big enough sample to justify things. But this one, like I mean, if you just look at the cards people are using. People are using really good cards in U23 Super Rare Division, but they already were to some extent. Like I didn't really change my lineup. I actually I put up like 495 points and I'm getting a tier 1. It was scraps because my matchups were so bad this week. Like I sort of threw in a bunch of like guys who I wasn't expecting the world out of. Like I threw in Trezor because they were playing Gen. And I'm like, this he's going to play, but it's probably not going to be great. And he was on pace for like 0 points after 30 minutes.
Yeah, got the bailout.
Clocked an assist out, so he bailed it out. But yeah, it wasn't like I like fired in a bunch of like Mbappe type cards. Like I fired in guys that I sort of had. Actually, the guys that I prioritized were ended up dreadful. They were trash cans because I prioritized like Alkmaar guys and they were horrendous.
Let's see, the Sorare Scout was saying that if you had a starting goalkeeper in U23 Super Rare this week, you won a prize. 15 out of the U23 Super Rare goalies this week were DNPs. 15 out of the U23 Super Rare. That's what I'm guessing that means. The goalies.
15 out of the rewards for this week.
15 out of the U20. Sorare Scout, if you could explain that, that'd be better.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up here. I mean, I definitely think like obviously like, having a U23 Super goalie was everyone that beat me had Diego Costa, who by the way I hate. If I ever have needed Diego Costa to keep a clean sheet, no chance.
Just end you, yeah. Just let it go.
96 minutes, he's conceding up 5-0. You lock that in, move on with your week. I said before the game started, I was fading Diego Costa in Legends, and I was then fading Diego Costa in U23. I'm like, there was ever someone I was convinced was not going to concede that day, it was Diego Costa. I was like, this guy is definitely not conceding.
Okay, so yeah, there were 23 U23 goalkeepers and only 8 played.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everyone that won a reward had a U23 starting goaltender. There was only I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I'd have to see more info on this. So sorry, Scar just came back. Sorry, 15 out of the 23 teams submitted in U23 D2 are full. Oh, this midweek, yeah, literally no one has
midweek.
Yeah,
that's much
nothing.
Different. Yeah,
that's much. I couldn't complete any lineup. I had no lineups. This midweek is there's nothing in this midweek. Like everything's a disaster in this midweek.
Do you literally have 0? You can't have 0.
I couldn't complete a lineup. I couldn't make a lineup.
Who's the whale now, Sean?
I know. You were out there just telling me. Actually, so we saw it. It's Haber. I guess he's like my Sorare child. He was out there dropping the just spend more money to John Nellis this week. I was very proud of him for that moment. He
also proud of John Nellis for just spending money.
John Nellis was like, oh, what should I do? What U23 Super Defender should I do? It has to be a champ. And it's Haber comes in and just drops the literal most expensive guy on him. And just like, Nellis is like, I want to spend like 1.5 to 2 ETH. And Haber just drops like the 5 ETH card on him.
Yeah, can you just spend 5 ETH? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, just this guy.
You've taught him well, man. He is like a sponge when it comes to learning about
Haber. He also he came in there and it was actually funny. Nellis asked another question and Haber just basically came in and called him a moron. He's like, which by the way, you should have been proud of it. John Nellis is trying to build his squad around Joao Felix. So
I mean, I'll see him on the podium, man.
Yeah, exactly. And anyways, Haber comes in and he's like, that's so fucking stupid. And so anyways, yeah, Haber definitely is taking after me. I'm rubbing off him in certain ways.
Just what we need.
He even bitches and moans like I do to some extent. He's a little bit more, he's a little too results oriented though. Like he's like, oh, if I played these guys in this lineup, blah, 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 blah. I don't really do that. I'm more so like, if I consider a 1v1, I know who would have been in the lineup, and then I'll complain about that. Haber like pulls a guy that hasn't played in like 8 months out of his lineup. So like, oh, if I played this guy that no one knew wasn't dead, he would have been great.
Right.
That's like,
right. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about U23s. For everybody who hasn't hit the like button on the video, please do so. We're like not even 10 minutes in. There's already been some great stuff. So just hit the like button. And if somehow you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. So there were a few different ways we were going to attack this subject. We decided to use a watch list that I put together last night that I took one player off because I was at 101 players and took one off to get us to an even 100 because round numbers are fun. So the watch list link is in the description of this video. I will say that the watch list as it currently looks is going to look very different by the end because our goal is basically to remove players from this list because we really want it to be kind of the top guys. I spent like a long time putting this list together. Like it was at least 5 minutes. and I basically just sorted by L40 and clicked a bunch of names. So there may be players that are missing. There may be some on there that, for whatever reasons, we know the transfers happened or whatever, that they should be off. And so we'll just remove those guys. But do you want to talk about Cherky now, or do you want to wait?
No, we should wait till forward.
All right.
We should wait till forward to educate you properly, you know?
Has nothing to do with education. It's perspective.
It's a hater Laird moment.
Yeah. So someone says, I didn't even think I had Trezor on the list, but somebody says I do. And so, yeah, I should take him off.
He will be removed. But yeah, I think we should go position by position. I think you did have Trezor. Look at that. I think we should be going position by position. And then I definitely, like, without even doing this and discussing, I had 3 goalies that to me made the most sense.
Yeah. Well, so when I started doing this, like, the idea of this show was like the best U23 players.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, I'm starting with goalkeeper. And it's like, I don't think, not that there's not a best, but it doesn't matter.
No, what you're looking for with the U23 keeper is, are they locked in as the starter? What is their age? What is like a potential move that could come from them? And how would that possibly affect them? And I mean, literally the most expensive guys are the guys that I would have like put up near the top of the list, because they all, for the most part, are pretty clear cut, like what they're doing. They have additional eligibility past this year, and you can sort of know what their moves are, or at least like have an idea, like this guy's probably not going to go to like die and be a backup somewhere, in theory. Like Chevalier maybe is a little bit more like, where would Chevalier go? But like, if you're starting for like Lille, or you're starting for some of these spots, you're pretty confident what's going to happen with them, and you're pretty confident that like these are the guys that are the most comfortable, I would say, from a goalkeeping standpoint. So like for me, I think the 3 that I think are the top, and 4 if you include Verbruggen, are the top 4 guys priced. I think they make the most sense. I think that they're the least likely to go and die somewhere. I think they have the longer leashes in terms of U23 eligibility as well. So I think that they definitely make a lot of sense. They don't really have any weird situations. Like, for example, like Heidel's in Austria. We know the Austria break, people absolutely despise that break. So that's a bit tricky. Pander is on like Satard. They just aren't the best, I guess I would say. Chris Brady has a lot of questions around him. I do like Osako. I think he's on one of the best teams in the summer. For me, like the most clear-cut summer goaltender is Osako, which he's for sure getting injured, because I have his super rare. There's no chance he like doesn't get injured, because there's just not much in the summer. Like we've looked at it, like
and we've seen a few just die since then. Thomas Hazel, RIP.
So like, yeah, we've seen like Hazel is likely going to be not starting. Tawny's likely not going to be starting. You just have some guys that are very, very questionable. So the good place just said Pandor is on loan from Hellas Verona, might not be at Fortuna next season. That's part of the issue. So like, if you're on loan and we don't know where you're going to go, or you could go back to the team and not be the starter, that is concerning. So like for me, the people that have a clear-cut, no-brainer, they're the starter somewhere in theory, is like Van de Voort, Chevalier, Mamadashvili, and Verbruggen. Meslier is fine too. Like, I mean, if you want Meslier, the issue with Meslier is he's like not on a good team. As you see, his stats are, I mean, I know we say that they don't really matter, because they don't really matter if you're going to be a locked-in starter, but you do look at Meslier and you're like, he's only got 1 year left. He's not the best. That team's not going to be the best in theory. And then Van de Voort, there is questions with Van de Voort. What we know about Van de Voort is he's not supposed to go to Leipzig until after next season. There has been discussions about Van de Voort going and being the goalie for Leipzig already. And the issue with that is, if he does go there, I would imagine he is the starter. Someone just asked why not Diogo Costa. He should have been on the list. That was Leipzig's fault, obviously. But I would rather have the other guys. And the reason for that is Diogo Costa is going to be in his last year of U23 eligibility. And I do not know where Diogo Costa is going to be. So like, I do still think he is above a lot of the other people on the list below hand, but I think that Diogo Costa is a lot more questionable than some of these other guys.
Yeah, to go back to the Meslier thing, like he shouldn't, I don't think should be the same price as Verbruggen, but but AJ makes a good point here that if Leeds get relegated, he could be really good.
I mean,
Meslier.
Yes, in theory, like if Leeds do go down and Meslier is the starting goalie, like that is a big benefit for him.
That's
and it's
big,
definitely a possibility, which is so Sam just mentioned the cost to sign a new deal for Porto. It's just in soccer, I don't think that matters, because like so many times guys just sign new deal just so they can get sold for more money and then make more money elsewhere. Like, so I don't really take that into consideration much. If Diogo Costa stays at Porto, he's obviously very good, but he still turns into an aging out goalie. Like, to me, the other guys make a lot more sense. Like, I know Van der Voort's going to, in theory, again, like we talked about, it's difficult because goalie is all dependent on you have to play. If you do not play, you are useless for the time being. And looking at Diogo Costa, I'm not convinced he will be on Porto next season, but he could. And even if he is, though, I'm not convinced that if he does stay, he's ages out. So like you've got a guy that will be aging out the following season, which isn't as appealing as maybe someone like Verbruggen, who has multiple years left of U23 eligibility, seems to be a relatively high-end prospect. Like Verbruggen is U23 till 2027.
It's a long time.
Almost certainly Verbruggen gets next season at minimum. So like almost for sure you're getting next season at Anderlecht for Verbruggen. Then where's Verbruggen going to go? Alex Wilson said never a better time to own Layson. I mean, I don't know if Layson becomes the starter. There's rumor about Henrik van Kronbruch going to Genk and becoming the new Genk starter. So I'm not saying it's a bad time to own Toby Layson, but like Toby Layson goes from the backup to the backup, doesn't really do much in theory with him.
Yeah, I think the Layson thing is like, it's by far the riskiest.
Yeah, I don't mind. You are never going to have like a bad situation if you own like a 20-year-old goalkeeper. It's never going to be bad. It's just not going to be bad, right? So it's a situation. Actually, Lunan ages out, Laird.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
I thought he had one more year.
Well versed in the Lunan situation, so I know he ages out. Parasol asked, "What do you think about Sasaki?" I guess for me, the issue with Sasaki is I'm just not convinced he'll be the starter. There's rumor of other people coming in and starting over Sasaki in the past, and it's not like Sasaki came in last year and like instilled massive amounts of confidence in me that it's like this guy's the guy.
Yeah.
That said, I have one and I have no issues with Sasaki, and I think if you're looking for a cheaper price point, that's a reasonable take.
Yep, that's fair.
Raymond says that there's not a chance that Costa goes anywhere and is not the starter. That is true in theory. However, if Diogo Costa goes to Wolves in the Premier League, he's worse than all these guys in theory. So right. That's the point. We're not saying that Diogo Costa is going to go somewhere and not start. We're saying like the only reason he's better than these other guys is because of the team he's on. If he is to go out and leave that team in theory, he's not likely to be that type of guy.
Right.
Like Mohammed just said that Chelsea are linked to Diogo Costa.
I think literally, I think every single player who wants a move at some point is going to be linked to Chelsea. So like, I almost don't even want to count them.
Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, for me, like if I'm looking at this list and I'm like coming up with the top 5, right? If you ask me to come down with the top 5 of like guys I would want to own, and I literally own all 5 of them. On this group that you have, for me, it would be Van der Voort, Chevalier, Mamardashvili, Verbruggen, and Osaka. That would be like the list that I would come up with.
So before I added Costa, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to sort this list by price, and you were just going to take the most expensive ones because that's just totally on brand.
Osaka is not the most expensive one.
Well, you're right.
Neither's Verbruggen.
You picked 4 of the top 5. You're right.
Neither's Verbruggen. He's 5th. I mean, all right. So Laird, who?
I actually want to talk about some of these other guys though, because like the point of this conversation was who we thought were going to be like the best ones for next season, and everyone's like, "Oh, how about this guy? This guy might play. This guy might get a move here." And it's like those uncertainties are why we don't consider these guys the best options right now.
Correct.
Like is Jay Gorder in the top 5 if he goes back to Ajax and is the starter? Somehow Rui leaves, like, and so, or wherever he ends up. Somebody mentioned Kudiakov, like he's probably not going to start. Like if Nico Mantle goes back to Salzburg and Phil Konis is sold, like is Mantle starter at Salzburg near the top?
Here's of this list, my favorite person in this group is Nico Mantle. The reason is because he just took a loan to start. In theory, he goes back to Salzburg, probably would start there because there's been enough discussions that other people would be leaving and it would likely be Mantle's job. Mantle also seems very, very insistent that Mantle like starts. Like Mantle wants to play. He's not like Lunin, who we just talked about, who's like been on the bench for 3 years and is just still rotting. But like, so Nico Mantle for me, of the people that are lower priced, is the clear best option because he's going to start the rest of this year. And I think that if he goes back, he would be the starter. And if he doesn't go back and he goes elsewhere, I think Nico Mantle wants to start. So for me, Mantle makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The only thing that, well, not the only thing, but one of the big things of why you hesitate on Mantle is the same reason you hesitate on Heidel. Like the Austrian break just feels like it's 10 years long. And so that's the problem. Alex is saying that AAB are awful and they're relegation candidates, but like, it doesn't matter. Like Mantle, he's just playing.
Same thing with Blue Tomato says that Salzburg by Schlager, Mantle sits. I don't think Mantle wants to sit. I think Mantle wants to go elsewhere to play. So that's where I think will happen. A couple people have mentioned Diouf, and I think that Diouf makes a lot of sense. Also, AJ just came in and said that that there's only 5 games left the rest of the year for Mantle. That is AJ being lazy, unfortunately. Sorry, AJ. But that league splits and they go into a different league. And actually, he'll be in the relegation round, so he will only be playing the bottom end teams in the league. So it's actually a pretty favorable spot for Mantle in the Danish league the rest of the year.
It sounds favorable, except they're at the bottom of
they're bad. Like I'm not saying like they're not bad. Like they're definitely one of the worst teams in the league. But I would much rather them be at the bottom and playing the worst teams in the league than at the top playing the better teams in the league. So
we were told that Jonas Erbig is not on our list. This is why he's not on the list.
Well, yes. There's definitely I think Diouf is someone that makes sense. I think Diouf is AJ, you have a lot of people's uniques, except for the ones I bought from you yesterday, except for like the $5,000 million in ETH I had to spend to get these bought. Yeah, Laird, do you want to know how I literally approached AJ to get super rare and unique goalies in yesterday?
I assume you said, I would like to buy some unique and super rare goalies. And he said, here's some trash ones I have. And you were like, I'll take them.
Actually, I went in and asked, AJ, do you have any trash bag, unique and super rare goalies that you don't really care about and would like to move? And AJ's like, sure, here's my.
Of course he does. Yeah, he's got a ton.
And I'm like, all right. And then I looked everyone up and I'm like, all right, all these guys seem to be really locked in. They're not terrible. I will take this heap of trash. And then I just sent over like a pile.
They just need to start, Sean.
It's all that matters. And I looked, I'm pretty confident that all those guys will go. But like, yeah, so like Erbig. So here's the issue with Erbig, right? His floor is 0.638 for a rare. Like you can just go buy like someone else that's probably more locked in and more safe.
Probably, yeah. I also don't think he ends up on this list as like one of the best. Like he's there, sure.
He could. He's young enough that it definitely is viable. I mean, he's U23 till 2028. But like again, when you say that like he's this price and Verbruggen is not tons more, you probably want to go and like buy Verbruggen, I would say.
Verbruggen's scores early on have just been absurd too.
I don't even care about that as much. Like I don't disagree. Like obviously Verbruggen's scoring out of his mind. You should have seen it this weekend. He literally passed the ball directly to I think Ambrose in front of his net from Ustenda, and Ambrose just took a shit touch the ball, literally bounced right back to Verbruggen. Like, I'm literally talking like
got a save in the box,
right? No, it was just, but it was going to be an air led to goal, like the whole minus like 50. It was literally like he had the ball. There wasn't even a contest. He just literally passed the ball directly to Ambrose at the edge of his box, wide open, and Ambrose just took such a bad touch the ball bounced off his foot right back into Verbruggen's hands. And I'm just like, Jesus.
Let's move to defender.
Okay. All right. Luckily, so a defender, Laird, I'm going to go out on a limb here and surprise you. My favorite defender going into next season is Schlotterbeck.
Good choice.
I'm not kidding. That's who I would say.
No, I mean, we're talking about the best. He is it. So like, there's nothing to discuss about it, I don't think. I will say though that in previous shows that we've had talking about U23 players, people are like, we're losing so many good U23 players, blah, blah, blah. Defender is still really deep and deep with like very good options, some of which could be significantly worse based on some moves. Like there are a lot of them that are in like Challenger Europe that could go to Champion and get worse. Some of them move and are fine. So like there's that. But Schlotterbeck obviously has the benefit of being already on a dominant Champion Europe team. And so that's where he is. But like if Timber leaves, and Timber hasn't been as good this year as he was last year, but like if he leaves, maybe he doesn't stay on this list. But we kind of expect guys like Gavardiol and Badiashile, like they're already in Champion Europe, so it's like tough for them to get worse.
Yeah, so Marco just brought up
That's a good point.
The elephant in the room, and again, Laird's fault. Laird put this together.
Yeah.
Antonio Silva for me is probably the top end guy.
He hasn't played 40 games. That's why he didn't show up in my list.
Yeah, I don't think he would leave this year, and he's just been superb for Benfica. And I mean, he's 19, just turned 19. Like Antonio Silva for me is definitely the clear-cut number one. Like that's the guy that I would prefer. Obviously, if you're going like the champ options, I prefer going Schlotterbeck, but I think Antonio Silva is the guy that you realistically want. I mean, looking down this list, so
yeah, I'm just glad that you now named the two most expensive ones. So here we go. Perfect.
What we're
Perfect.
here for. We're on brand. But yeah, I mean, looking down this list a little bit. So like, I mean, Timber, I think is really good because I think the rest of the season he should be pretty good. The way that the team is now with Edson Alvarez, is set up well for Timber to be productive. And if you look, Timber's AA has been improved since we got rid of Schroeder's dumbass. He's been pretty good. But the issue with that is like they've literally played Volendam, Excelsior, and Camber the last 3 games. So and the Volendam game was still under Schroeder. So like, but if you watch the game, like with Alvarez back, I think that there's more offensive distribution requirements from Timber that were not there previously because they had Blind or they had Bassi, and I don't know why they were using Bassi. Like Timber was much better. But I think that Timber's fine, but like I definitely am removing Nuno Mendes. Have no interest in Nuno Mendes.
I literally just added him and I was like, this should be fun.
Yeah, definitely not interested in Nuno Mendes. I'm not interested in Foremost Mendy. He's too questionable for me. Probably not interested.
What is the questionable about? His move?
Yeah, his move. He had a lot of not bad, but like moves that were probably unfavorable for him.
Yeah.
Going into this window, which would make me think he would leave. I think that Solet, I'm probably out on, who's been just too injured recently. I do like De Kuiper quite a bit. I think De Kuiper's been really good for Westerlo. He could end up on a better team, which could even improve his stats. It could hurt him though.
Could hurt him actually. Yeah, that's what
he's been taking sets and penalties, which I don't know if you're going to get that elsewhere.
Yeah, they were saying going back to Bruges, he's not going to do it at Bruges.
Correct. I like Divine Wrench. I think Wrench, like if you watch the Ajax games, unless they're putting him at center back because they're stupid like Schroeder was doing, he looks like he's coming in more into his own at right back. Like it looks like he's being more utilized at right back than he previously was. And Wijndal just looks sort of lost for me. So I kind of like Wrench. I think Wrench makes quite a bit of sense. Like, I mean, obviously the stats aren't fully there, but like, as you see, Schroeder's gone. I want my guys to beat up the bad teams. If you're beating up the bad teams, that's what I want because that's when you're going to be in my elite level lines, right? Like I'm not necessarily playing Divine Wrench against Feyenoord. Like I'm not worried about that. I want to know that if Divine Wrench is in against Camber or Excelsior, I'm going to get 96, 75 points so that he's in a more marquee lineup for me. So I think Wrench is pretty good. I'm Bastoni likely leaves in the summer, it seems like, and he's aging, so I probably would go out on him.
Is he? Oh,
He's
he
not
is.
aging. Yeah,
Yeah, no, he is.
Taylor Harwood-Bellis, I'm out on. There just is too much unknown with him, I guess, for me to really want him. Plus, he's injured right now. I like Inacio. I think Inacio is really good. Like, I watch a decent amount of Sporting. I think he's really good. The issue is I think he probably leaves. Where he goes, I don't know. Sutalo, same thing. Diego Dalot has been really good. Do I really want him? No. I think that he's questionable at most. Batashili.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been really good for him. So, like, it's if he's not locked, then
yeah. Plus, he ages out, so you just add him even though he ages
I think he
out.
has one more year.
He doesn't.
No.
Or Batashili. We were talking about him. I think Batashili has the potential to be really good. The issue is you sort of mentioned it a little bit ago. Everyone and their mom is linked to Chelsea. And if they bring in all these, like, for example, like, I know that they probably won't do this now because of what's happened with these other guys. But if they bring in Josko, Josko's starting. Like, Josko is not sitting on the bench. Josko is starting. And that would be, which I sort of skipped over Josko. Like, Josko, I love. I would put him up there with the high-end guys. Like, just watching him, he's really talented. And I just think he ends up on big-end teams and just ends up being, like, the GOAT.
Sure.
So Batashili is an option. I like Saliba. I think Saliba is sort of established there. I think he's solid. We know Arsenal's pretty good. I like what Arsenal's doing with their team. The issue is like, you look, his scoring's not the best, and that's a bit concerning per se. Like, even like you look through his games and he just doesn't smack every game, and it's probably not what you want per se.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But I think Saliba's a good age, and he's probably going to be at Arsenal, so like you don't really have to worry about tons on that. Continuing down the list, Malagusto, rumored to Chelsea. You don't think I want that? Fofana.
That's done, isn't it?
Malagusto. Oh, yeah. I think he signed like a pre-transfer or whatever, so he's leaving in the summer. Fofana, he's been injured just a lot lately. I probably would pass on that. Udogi, I'm out. Poro at Tottenham, hard pass. Bassi, if Bassi gets back in the starting line for Ajax, I would really, really favor Bassi. I think there's a reasonable expectation to buy a Bassi at some point from me because I like Bassi. I think Bassi's pretty good. I think Bassi was just in roles that made no sense. Like, why was Bassi ever playing left back? I have no freaking idea. Made no sense. But now, like, Bassi's not starting. So the thing is, though, is like, I don't believe that Edson will still be there next year. And most likely, I mean, Timber will likely not be there either, I would say. So with both of those guys going, I think that there would be some questionable spots. Kind of like Piatkowski. With him at Ghent, like, those guys score pretty well. And
it's a loan, though, isn't it?
Is it? I'm not sure if it's a loan on Piatkowski. It's hard to follow all this stuff, honestly.
Yeah, it's just a loan.
Okay, so yeah, he's only there. Okay, so yeah, I guess Piatkowski, like, I wouldn't really go to. I do like Mies Hilgers. He is pretty solid. He actually was horrendous this weekend. He had like one of the worst weekends I've seen of someone. McKenzie ages out as well. We'll get to one of our favorites here in a second. I'm getting rid of Jallo. I don't know, just not there. Bayer, if Burnley goes up, you don't want Bayer, and Burnley's going to go up, so pass on that. I'm not familiar with Cabanillas enough to comment on, but back to Hilgers. I want to go back to Hilgers before we go to Korean Timber. Hilgers just looks really good for the most part. He was awful this weekend, but he's had some injury problems. Did leave again injured this weekend, which is unfortunate because obviously you have Volendam. You don't want to not be able to use someone against Volendam. But there was rumors of Ajax at this deadline, at this window. Ajax definitely is going to be on the market for center backs going into the next season. And no matter what people will say, and people are going to be like, Ajax isn't as good as they were. Yeah, that's true. But like, even if we look at like the fact that Ajax isn't that good, like, use Timber's stat line, you still see like an L40 of 53. It's not bad. Like, it's not good, but it's not bad. And like,
sure,
I think that Timber will end up with a much better L15 and L40 as we continue the rest of the year because, again, we got rid of Schroeder, so like we're going to be less moronic with how we're doing things.
Yep. Bayer's on loan from Gladbach, which I don't know if that changes anything for me. Bayer's on loan from Gladbach.
Bayer's on loan? I thought they bought Bayer and they loaned in Harwood-Bellis.
I've already removed him.
Now I'm looking that up. I thought that one was one. I thought they owned Bayer and they loaned in Harwood Bellis.
Makes it
No,
look
I
like
guess
he's gone.
could it be a loan with an obligation to buy Blue Tomatoes? Because I thought that they owned Bayer.
Both.
Both. Same.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay. All right. So I guess I could have sworn they owned one of them. But the real guy we'll talk about here is our boy Korean Timber, Lee Han Bum. He showed signs of being a massive possession hog due to the way that FC Seoul play. The issue is he got injured, and I don't know what the severity of the injury is, and it's Korean, so it's hard to know what the real issue is. So I don't know exactly what to think with Korean Timber. Like, is Korean Timber going to be ready at the start of the season? I don't know. I think if Hoodwinked was here, he'd probably give us a better idea on Korean Timber, but we both love Korean Timber, so obviously had to be on the list.
I mean, is there a better, when fit, is there a better summer U23 defender? Might be Cabanillas, actually.
The issue is, so Seoul's not that good, so they don't like kill people. But if you get FC Seoul at home versus like one of the lower end teams, he smashes. So, and also, like, here's another caveat with all this in this discussion we're going with. There are certain teams that are going to produce elite level U23 options. You just don't know who those options necessarily are at this moment. And that's the key. Like, realistically, the way that you want to look at stuff, and actually Baptiste brought up a really good person, which we'll talk about here in a second. Like, Ajax is going to be really good in their league. You know that, like, Genk generally will run young players. They typically will run younger guys. So, like, for example, like Mujahid Sadiq could be a good option for Genk next year. If he stays and all the other center backs leave, he could be a good option. Feyenoord's typically going to be good with younger players. Same with PSV, AZ Alkmaar. So there's definitely going to be guys like that. So Hachini brings up John Tolkien for the summer. John Tolkien definitely shows signs of being a relatively high-end U23 option. The issue with Tolkien is he's going to be a wingback, and that is not always the best sort of answers you're going to get. But as you look here, he was pretty stable last year, which you don't necessarily expect from a fullback / wingback.
He was like literally a bigger beneficiary of the matrix change than Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, he was awful. Not awful, but he was just a classic fullback, wingback who gave away a ton of possession. And then when they nerfed that, like, his scores were all just like, whoop.
Correct. So where Josh brings up Morrow Jr., I guess the issue with Morrow Jr. is he's just been so injured for a while.
Yeah.
And
I looked at him and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, then he came back and literally got injured again, and then he came back and then he got his red. He also ages out, but that's George mentions Sol Young Woo. The issue with Sol Young Woo is, like, they would just not play him. Like, you would just, like, be sitting with Sol Young Woo and, like, you would just eat random DNPs or random subs, and he
ages out too.
He does age out, like that. Also, yeah, he does age out. But, like, the issue with Sol Young Woo is he just, like, you just play him and you're just sitting there. So my issue with Cabanillas, and I've told our good friend Tuggy, but Tuggy doesn't listen. And I've told our good friend Gator Guy this, but Gator Guy does listen and called himself a moron. But I'm very hesitant with buying guys in the Peruvian League because they just are deciding. And yes, Alex Wilson, I'm the same way. I am not going near guys in the Peruvian League because they just decided not to play. So boom, league just doesn't play. Or league plays, boom, just no coverage.
No coverage, yeah.
Coverage. Or you get, like, limited optic coverage. And it's like, here's the thing, and here's the issue with me. How can you ever confidently place someone in the Peruvian League in like a lineup that you care about with that hanging over your head? So, like, to me,
I don't even know what it's like to put in a single lineup with confidence, Sean.
Well, you make some mistakes there. It's all right. It's okay. You probably put in this midweek with confidence because you probably had literally no options.
I had 5 cards.
Yeah, so you're very confident that was your best 5. So I just think that you have to it's just tricky. It's tricky to have guys in the Premier League, is my opinion. I'm not saying they can't be good, because obviously they can be, but you're asking for
they're added risks
disaster every week, and I just don't want that.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to point out with Cabanillas is that he's listed as defender now, but he has only midfielder cards. So if you're like, oh, let me go out and get one, that's just something you have to be careful of.
Correct.
Any chance we get Yuya Oki starting any day? As I see Sekigawa down here.
No, you might get Yuya Oki in the second division. I think he got loaned to the second division.
Oh, man.
Sekigawa is like
what a fall from grace, man.
Sekigawa likely doesn't start anyways, Laird. So I wouldn't have like Sekigawa on the list, and I wouldn't have Panzo's probably fine. I probably would remove Alphonso Davies too, but that's just like, I don't know. Like, I love Davies. I think he's obviously fantastic, but I just look at him and I'm like, do I really want to play Alphonso Davies a lot of the time? Like, even the games that he has good games and he gets a decisive or two, he has a lot of like negative 15 AA type games because he's just so good and just plays so attacking.
I mean, this looks pretty good to me.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't want him.
He's in that situation though, that like it's better to have a player who does, I don't want to say he relies on decisives, but like it's okay to consider decisives when you play for Bayern Munich. Like, they're going to have a ton of decisives. He'll get somewhat involved at some point. So like, I get the situations where you're saying where he has like 2 assists and a negative 75 AA, but like,
yeah,
you know, I think he's fine.
No, it's only been a couple. Like, to be fair, he usually is positive, but it does look like most. I guess the games were with Canada where he does play out of position. So like
Canada games are killers.
I guess if we sort it for Bayern, like his stat line does go up, and he doesn't have very many bloodbath games. So yeah, Davies is probably fine to keep on the list. And it's still pretty crazy that you have Davies as a U23 option until 2025. Not to mention, like, here's the thing with Davies, like, he doesn't die. So I would definitely keep Davies on the list for sure.
Yep. I mean, literally the only rumor I've ever seen him go to is Real Madrid.
There's literally, like, I mean, you don't go from starting at Bayern to like Nottingham Forest. Like, if you go anywhere, going to Madrid, you're going to PSG, you're going to Barca or something.
Yeah. Everybody is joining now. I saw Pires was here quickly, as Sam called him, over 23 Pires, excuse me. Harry Trades, welcome in. And Zarchi Poo. What's up, guys? What's up? Let's move into midfielders, because it's going to get progressively uglier as we go on. But we do get to start with the thumbnail guy of Jude Bellingham. Is there anyone that you would consider potentially better than Bellingham just for next season?
Maybe. I need Harry Trades to log off and not watch this part, but maybe his boy, Mr. Average, Pedri. And the reason for that is Pedri is now taking set pieces. And if Pedri's on set pieces, Pedri's a lot better than what Pedri's been, which has been bang average.
This is bang average.
Above like bang average, you're well above average, and that's good. So for me, I would probably have Pedri as the top option, or Bellingham.
Okay. Not Enzo.
Probably not Enzo. What would you say?
I think Enzo needs set pieces if it's going to be Enzo. And it's not that he'll never take them, but Chelsea just seem like they have too many guys who could take them. And so that's not what you want. You want a situation where you're like, the ball is out. I know exactly who's going to take it, which looks like it's turning into Pedri at Barcelona. Correct. And that's it.
Yeah.
The Bellingham transfers are not scary, but like Dortmund Bellingham is a lot more fun than Liverpool Bellingham.
The one we really have to talk about is Kvaratskhelia, because he's been the best player on this list by far.
Yeah.
The issue with Kvaratskhelia is that he is a winger with a midfield card, which is going to typically hurt his AA, which if you see, his AA is only 7.7. If we go look at Pedri's AA, we're going to see what Pedri's AA is, and Pedri's AA is 20. Now, Kvaratskhelia,
it doesn't matter when you're just banging decisives every game.
Kvaratskhelia is banging decisives in, and therefore he's having enough to offset that. The issue is like Do I really think Kvaratskhelia is a decisive a game guy? Maybe. The issue is that's like best player in the world type output. So that's a bit tricky to fully say that that's going to be sustainable, and that would remain. I wish Kvaratskhelia had a forward card, but he does not.
Why would he have a forward card? He just starts at striker every single game.
Yeah. So why would you have a forward card when you literally only play forward? I don't know. So that's my issue with him. He's still great. Like, he's still a great card. Like, I would totally love to have one, but I think you just are getting a lot more safety. Like, I would much rather, we've talked about it before. If you're going to get me 60 and your average AA is 4 and your decisive rate's huge, or you're going to get me 60 and your AA is huge, your decisive rate's low, I want that guy every time, because when he gets a decisive, I'm ripping 100. Yeah. When the other guy gets a decisive, I'm expecting that just gets me to like the 60.
Well, comparing the last two that we just talked about is perfect. They both have an L15 of 65. Correct. One is really decisive dependent, and the other one is now taking set pieces. And
correct. And Kvicha is taking set pieces now, which is a help for him. And it's definitely beneficial. Realistically, the midfield list, I like a lot of people on the midfield list. I like Jude. I like Kvicha. Saka, I don't think is good enough.
He's not good enough as a midfielder.
Yeah, as a forward, he's definitely good enough. And this isn't like a knock on Saka. Like, he's still good, but like, if you're looking at all these other guys, they're just better than him as a midfielder.
Yeah, I do wonder if his price comes down when we have more supply. Like, if it's just like an early Premier League boost.
Yeah, definitely will. But like, I mean, he's not that much worse than Kvaratskhelia, but he is worse in my opinion. So like, I'm just not going to go for Saka as my personal preference. I like Pedri. I think Wirtz is fantastic. It's obviously going to take him a little bit of time to work back from where he was at, but I think he's great. Enzo's fantastic. Kachu, I probably would pass on Kachu because of just unnecessary risk compared to the other guys. Like, you do get a discount risk, you mean. What's your thoughts on Kachu?
Like, transfer risk is the biggest problem, right? Like I think the dream scenario is like he goes to Benfica and pulls an Enzo, but like, I don't know if you go from, where's he, Feyenoord to Benfica? It seems like too much of a lateral move for a player like that.
Tuggy is just learning that Fling Flong is his burner account with the Enzo Lafite talk. Enzo Lafite's fine. Like, I'm assuming Enzo Lafite's on this list unless Laird is disrespecting. So yeah, like, that's like the Kachu rumors are much better than they used to be.
I think I was thinking, that's funny. I actually thought I had Enzo here.
Look at this disrespect, guys. He did not have Enzo Lafite on the list.
I just had one. I only had
wow. And Tuggy is Enzo spot, like the best player of all time. Like, and so is Fling Flong. Like, they're the same person though. So
isn't even my favorite. Enzo
the real question is, all right, so is Fling Flong Tuggy's burner or is Tuggy Fling Flong's burner?
Ooh.
I don't know. That's a question we definitely would have. Xavi Simons, that he doesn't do it for me. He's just not good enough from an AA perspective. But I mean, he could probably get there if he becomes like set piece alpha type player and he just stays there for a while. Like, I think he could be pretty dominant in the league.
Could he actually do that though?
I'm calling you Tuggy Fling Flong, not Tubby.
But he could end up on sets, right? Because if
yeah, I mean,
they already lost Takpo and if Veerman leaves.
In theory, but the issue is that like I have my concerns about Mr. Simmons here.
That's fine.
I probably wouldn't have him. I like Jabajlai. I mean, dude's got like the best free kick in the game. Like, he's absolutely
he's really good.
Almad is great if he stays in the MLS. If he leaves the MLS, don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I agree.
Ricky Puig is fantastic if he's in the MLS. If he leaves the MLS, I want nothing to do with him. And also, I think he ages out. No, I think he actually.
No, he has one more.
He doesn't age out. He has one more. But like, again, do I want Puig if he leaves MLS? God, no. But I think you leave him on the list because I think he is very alpha in the summer. Yeah. Where there aren't people like that. Like, I think in the summer, like, Puig's like that guy you pretty much want to have if you want to compete in that region.
But like, if he ends up in the Netherlands, that's not like a killer.
Who, Puig?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if he ends up at like Girona?
Yeah, sure. No. That's certainly, yeah.
So Enzo Lafie, I would have on the list. I like Enzo. I think he's pretty good. I think that he's pretty solid. Spurzion, people have said that he is rumored to go to like PSV or Feyenoord. If he goes there, fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
he's
great.
pretty good in the Russian league, so I'd have no issues with him. Arda Gurler, I don't think he can really be there because he just isn't getting enough.
I just wanted to put him on as basically that example of, I think that's pretty. There are enough people who think he's going to be great, but nobody is convinced he's going to be great like next season. And I know that like we buy players for 10 years and we look at all this U23 eligibility, but like you have to spend a decent amount to get him now, and to likely not play him for like 2 years is tough for a lot of people.
It's rough. Phil Foden, nowhere near the list, just doesn't play enough. Let's see. Zakarian, I guess he's on there.
Chelsea kills him, I think.
What?
I think he just dies at Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. That's like, I probably remove him. Like, I probably don't want him there, but like, you could probably have him on the list and just say you think he's going to be really good there. But I tend to agree. Facunda Torres, I want nothing to do with at all. I don't see how he stays in the MLS, and I don't see how he's good enough to be anywhere else. Caicedo seems like a pretty good option that should be pretty solid. So I would be okay leaving Caicedo in there. Alex Wilson said you left El Canus out as well. I have I'm like the biggest Gank homer on the platform, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure you see me at Gank games, like wearing like stuff and like celebrating. And I have no interest in El Canus. Like, I don't see the hype. I don't think he's that good. He does not score that good. And like any move he makes is just like bad. So I don't know. I don't see it either. I definitely know people think he's like way better than I think he is. But I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's that good. He definitely doesn't score well. Kenny Taylor, my boy. I love Kenny Taylor. I think he's so good. I just don't know if he scores.
He's not as good as the guys above him.
He's not as good as the guys above him. Tonali's probably not good enough for me. Same with Susic. Probably Seawald's not good enough for me in realistic situation. Same with Kamara. Yari is a question because I just don't really know what I'm going to get out of Yari. I mean, he just came off 100, and we have new owners or new coaching staff in there. I probably wouldn't have him on the list, but he's cheap enough that you can definitely have a Yari. Like, he's still only 21. Like, he still has U23 till 2026.
Yeah, he's the, like, I feel like he has to stay on this list. Like everybody in Sorare is like contractually obligated to be like, no, Yari's good. He's just really young, and he's just going to be really young until he just is not.
Yeah. The Parapress just talked about Cody Gakpo. Doesn't matter if he ages out. He's dead. He's already at Liverpool. He's dead, and he's proven that.
I will say Mohamed Kamara's scores have been much better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I'm not interested in like Kamara. Like, I'm not really interested in most of these guys down here from like the top end perspective. Like, I don't really think that they're that good. Gabriel Florentine, that's your boy. I'll let you talk about him a little bit. I know he's put up good, but he's like always in like rumors to leave and stuff. So like Santiago Rodriguez, I wouldn't have because he's likely to not be in New York City this year. If he was at New York City, I would have like really liked him.
Yeah, he's already gone. Yeah. And then I don't know why he's on the list. And yeah, Dylan Levitt is just like your classic set piece taker on a not great team. And so
yeah, if Levitt was on a better team, I think he would be pretty good. I just don't think he's on a good enough team.
Yeah. Like, and then because he was on loan from Man United, and then I think Dundee United bought him, but like he was certainly never going to go back to Man United and like be the set piece guy there. So like he was always a bit capped.
Correct.
So yeah, I think, we just go down to Yari and then we just finish there.
Yeah, Yari shouldn't be on this list. Like, he doesn't fit with the other guys, but he's cheap enough and old enough.
You want to talk about your boy Kakare?
He's good right now. I can't hate on it. He is one of the cases that we've talked about before. He actually buried my ass in U23 Division 2 this week. But I have no issues with Kakare right now. You know why that is, Laird?
Because he's playing?
What could make Kakare not shit, Laird?
Cherokee?
Well, Cherokee's a god, so yes. But what else can make Cherokee or Kakare improved?
Set pieces?
Yep. Kakare is taking like half the set pieces for Lyon right now. And I would actually have no real issue adding Kakare to this list.
Wow.
The issue is, like, when we bashed Kakare in the past, Kakare had no reason to be near this, because like if you don't look at like his past 10 games, he'd like never had cracked 70 in his career. Like he literally had cracked 80 one time in like 150 games, and he's cracked it 4 in his L10. Like it's like sets are important, but he's doing it like he's having better AA too. His AA has increased as well. So I have absolutely no issues with Kakare being on the list. Like I think Kakare probably deserves to be on the list. Guys, I can change. People say that I just will stick to talking with Carlos Gil up all the time. If a guy becomes good or a guy becomes bad, I have no problem admitting it. Like Kakare was definitely a guy we shit on before.
Sure.
And
deservedly
shit on. And it was warranted. He was terrible.
Yeah.
It
was just that the price never made sense.
Correct.
That's what it was.
Correct. Yeah. And look, here's the issue with Kakare. So Baptiste brings it up, I don't think in the best way, because Baptiste says problem is with Kakare, Leon's kind of screwed as a club. If Southampton comes with 30 mil, they got him. Hey, Southampton in the championship looks great for someone like Kakare. The issue is like Kakare needs these sets. If you remove these sets, Kakare is ridiculously mediocre. Lighton actually brings up a good person I think we could definitely talk about. Milan Scout brings up any news on the Peru League and when will they play? We actually talked about the Peru League and how we would never touch the Peru League earlier, Milan Scout. We do not trust it. Even if they're going to play, they might not get covered. But the person Lion brought up was Sven Mijnans. And I think he has the potential to be really strong next year. Just took a Scosmo. We didn't skip Zaba. We left him in there. We think he should be there.
He's great.
So Mijnans just took a transfer to AZ. He's likely going to get more playing time than I anticipated this season because of all the injuries. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a pretty talented player, and he just took the move to AZ, which is a good team that can get good scores out of him in certain situations. So, like, I think that it is a really good spot for Mijnans. Now, this year, he might not be as good and he might not be up there, but like going forward, I think he has a good shot. So Genesis just talks about Kakare. He said, I'd say Kakare playing further forward is massively helping his chance creation and penalty area entries. The corners do help as well. He's taking free kicks too some of the time. 100%. If we say that we think he probably is generating like 10 points a game based on this type of situation, that's huge, because it turns like a 50 average player that's completely mediocre and you have no interest in to a 60 average player with a lot higher upside towards getting decisives. And that is a fantastic situation. Like if I look at Kakare's entire game set, which is like 100 games, if I click on all on Kakare, he has 6 decisives. Of those 6 decisives, 4 of them have came in the last like 10 games. So his decisive rate, I'm not saying that's sustainable. Like, I'm not saying 4 and 10 is sustainable, but he went from like 1 every 40 games to 1 every 2 games. If he goes from 1 every 40 to 1 every 10, that's a big upgrade to him and him as a player. Gecko2 says that Mijnans is starting for AZ in the Cup today. Correct. I saw the Cup lineup is the same as what AZ ran on the weekend, just not as stupid as it was on the weekend because they completely ruined it from the start. And it is Mijnans ineffectively for Van Bretteretta. Chani just said that he is taking the Mijnans Super off the market. I definitely do not hate that play at all. If you have the ability to sit on that for a little bit, it's a good card to have. I definitely would not be selling Mijnans Super right now. That's for sure. Myself personally, that's just not a time you want to sell that card. Yep, like that's the card that you could be looking at next year and be like, man, I'm a moron. And you're sitting on like a card that like the rare is like 40% more than what you sold the super rare for, and you just feel like an idiot.
Do we think Reinders is leaving?
Yes, probably, maybe. But we'll have to see. Who knows? We don't know what AZ is going to do. Like Reinders is locked in for more time. But it's more realistic that Reinders would leave, and DeWitt, I think, probably leaves. I don't think DeWitt stays, and then it's just a matter of who else leaves and who goes. Because I think that Georgie would be best suited moving to left wing into the Carlson role. And if Georgie moves to left wing, you could be putting Mijnans in the either cam role that DeWitt's been in, or the like LCM role type spot that that Reinders has been in. So yeah, DeWitt's also about to leave this summer. Yeah, it seems like DeWitt's definitely gone. The question is going to be on Reinders. So it's really like you would expect Carlson to leave. I think Pavlidis leaves, but I'm not sure on Pavlidis, but he doesn't really factor into this whole discussion anyways. But I think Reinders is a question. I think Pavlidis leaves. I think Carlson leaves. I think DeWitt leaves. So that means Georgie will start either in that cam role or at that left wing spot, both of which he's played. Like I think Georgie's looked pretty good so far. Like Georgie to me has looked pretty good in the games he's played. For those that saw the lineup for them today, is Georgie in the squad today? I know he wasn't starting, but was he in the squad? And then Milan Scout asked, is DeWitt back from injury? DeWitt is not back from injury as of now. I'm not. They said a few weeks as of the other day. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to see from DeWitt in return. I think it's realistic that DeWitt could not get his job back anyways. If DeWitt doesn't get his job back, like they have other people I think are probably better than him, maybe. That they might just like go to already.
Maybe.
Let's
move to forward, because this is where everybody gets really sad about U23 and all the guys we're losing this year. Top of the list is Kylian Mbappe.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to put 4 players on this list. And I was like, well, that's not going to be enough.
I would have said 5.
You're willing to go 5? That's fine.
Who's my 5th, Laird?
Casper?
No, but he could be. I don't know what to expect from him, though. I have no idea.
I don't know who who is it?
Velasco.
Oh, all right. Well, he's here.
Yeah.
He's 6th on the list based on price. So are you confident Velasco stays in MLS?
No, but he's young enough and he's there now that I think there's merit to him being on the list. It goes back to the Ricky Puig situation.
Right.
Velasco's like that much better than most guys in the summer months that I think having that card might be a pretty it might be a pretty important card to have in U23 if you want to compete.
Okay. So we've talked at length about Erling Haaland and why you don't necessarily like him.
It's not that I don't like him.
You just you don't like his AA. You don't like his AA.
No, he's fine, right? He's no different than So Jerm actually brings up a good point. He says Velasco stays in Dallas longer than Gabriel or than Jesus Ferreira. Yeah, which is very, very realistic. The thing is they both
overstayed his welcome, I think.
What?
Like I'm surprised that Ferreira still
left last year.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing.
Right.
A lot of people have mentioned also before we go into this forward that Zorgain should be on the list. I don't disagree with that. Zorgain could definitely be on the list. Zorgain's been really good for Sporting. I would be okay including Zorgain on the list as well for a midfielder. Just so you guys that have been bringing it up mentioned it. I don't disagree with that. Zorgain probably is a reasonable person to have on the midfield list. No, I mean Haaland is literally like he is what you think he is, right? Haaland is a guy that's going to score goals.
Yeah.
That's what he is, which is great. The issue is you look and you're just like, you look at his last 5, 39, 98. Okay, 98, great, awesome. 60 with a negative AA. 36.4 and 30.8. If I'm paying 60th, I want more than that.
You just don't want to be dead if he doesn't score.
Yeah, like you need him to score. If he's not going to score, you're dead. Your line's dead if he doesn't score, which again is like understandable. Like he's going to score a lot of the time, but like even when he scores, you're not really like exceeding expectations. You're like, all right, this guy's keeping my lineup alive. My definition of like lineups and like exceeding and getting good returns is like if If you put up 60 anymore, that's like all right, that's fine. My line's still going and trucking forward without like any sort of like drawback. You need to put up like 80s to 90s for me to be like, all right, now we're moving up and we're getting in. Because like if you get like 60 a piece, like let's say you average 60 on 5 guys and you get like your bonuses and stuff, you're like not getting a card all the time. Like you might barely get a card, if that.
Yeah.
So like I just think you like 60 sort of, you're like, okay, are we getting 60? If the answer is yes, then you're okay. Someone else brought up Mitsuda, saying that he is the best summer option. I don't think Mitsuda is the best summer option. I do think Mitsuda is solid and should probably be on the list. But the issue is that like J League is a bit in question at the moment. That's why we've been more limited with J League and K League type players. But Mitsuda is good enough that he should probably be on the list.
Yeah, that's fair.
As an option. But yeah, so like looking down this list, the top 4 are the top 4. I think you'd agree with that, right?
Sure.
Are you like on board with Team Cherokee now?
I think that I think it was hilarious that the conversation was like, he's great now. There's no death move. And then the PSG rumor started and everyone was like, oh shit, there is a death move. And I think that like there's a legitimate reason to be concerned if he goes there that he is not the 4th best U23 forward after that.
But there's also reasonable concern that if he goes there, he's the number 1 U23 forward.
I don't see how that happens unless one of the big 3 leaves.
Which every indication is someone will leave.
I mean,
there's
no indication at all. Like, there's no indication.
There is indication that someone will leave. They've wanted out Neymar for so long. Mbappe seems like a diva. He probably wants to leave to some extent. Messi is, who knows where. I mean, Saudi League's offering Messi like $1 billion a year to go to Saudi.
He's not going there. If Neymar is the one who leaves, or I actually take that all away, because you've said previously that you see Mbappe taking set pieces as like one of his potential upside things.
I think it's possible. I think it's
Does he take over Shirky?
Definitely possible.
And how is that? Where does that leave Shirky as a player?
Probably still 4th if he were to go in Neymar role and not take set pieces. Probably still in the top 5.
And that's without one of Messi or Neymar, right?
Yeah,
because that's where he's playing.
Correct.
Okay.
But like,
I'm just saying that there's like a reasonable situation that he goes to PSG and sits behind those 3 guys for 1 more season and then takes over.
Then it's a dead card. The top 3 guys here are, you don't have questions about them.
Yes, right. Like I think it's a top 3 list.
Yes,
and then there's a giant wild card, and then everyone else.
Yes, like so Gonzalo Ramos nowhere near this list for me. I have no interest in him.
I agree.
Velasco, yes, I think he's good enough. Tangstad, I don't think you can include just because I don't know.
He's the one who went to Benfica?
Tangstad went to Benfica. I just don't know what their plans are realistically. Yep. Rodrigo, no. Like, no, I guess.
If he started?
If he started, yes. But, like, can you really trust him to start?
No.
David Alves mentions Ekitike. I don't think Ekitike is ever going to be realistically that good because he's just he's a goal-scoring dependent striker with no AA. And I don't know. I've watched him. Like, you can't get better than playing with, like, Neymar and Messi. And he just sometimes struggles to put the ball in the back of the net. So that, to me, isn't a good sign. So Jota was brought up. Jota ages out. That's why he's not here. Otherwise, he probably would have been here. Yori, I have no interest in. None. Talis Magno, yes, I would leave on the list for.
They're the only problem with Talis Magno, excuse me.
Well, they could be horrific.
Is that they're going to be really, really bad, like really bad.
He also could take everything, I think. He's definitely going to take 10.
They got nobody left, so like
no, they got no one left. It's difficult. Jesus, I guess I would leave on the list because if he's in Dallas, he's good enough.
I was going to say the reason why he's good enough is because there's only 2 guys above him on the list that play when he plays.
Correct. Mitsuda, yes, we are able.
Would you take Mitsuda over Ferreira?
Probably is the answer.
Yep.
Joao Pedro, probably not, but maybe. I mean, maybe. I guess I'd be okay with.
He had some banging scores before he got hurt.
Yeah, Carlo Holster's just a lot. He's injured, and then there's lots of transfer rumors around him, so I probably wouldn't have him. But if he stayed there, like if he didn't leave, yes. But I just don't know if he's gonna stay. Dango, no. I mean,
oh no, he ages out. Sorry.
Fling Flong, are you also a big Dango Outra homer? Because if you are, then I need to know that. Dango, like, look, is
championship Dango?
You can't say Dango unless they go down to the championship, and
sure,
they're not locked in to go to the championship. So at this point, no on Dango.
Right.
So Jerm brought up Santi Jimenez for Feyenoord. We haven't seen enough out of him to think he's good enough. He's got no AA, so I would argue he would never be on the list anyways. Baptiste brought up Moussa Diaby. You and I are both not Diaby fans.
That's funny. I thought I put Diaby on the list because I was going to say, like, I remember thinking, like, if I put him on the list, then we're gonna have to talk about how neither of us like him. But but that's what it is. Like, I think he moves, and wherever he moves is not going to be as good a situation as what he has at Leverkusen. And even right now, he's not like a dominant U23 player.
His AA is not that great, Baptiste. His AA is like 10. If you look at the last year, his AA is like 10. That's just I don't know. You and I both aren't a big Diaby fan. We don't think he's good enough to play at the top level. Like, we don't think he's good enough to play at Bayern or City or whatever. Like, we don't think he's good enough for that. And
he's good enough to get a move to one of those places.
He might be good enough.
He's not good enough to score like this there.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't see it with Diaby personally, is my opinion.
Yep.
Geka2 brought up Julian Carranza. Carranza's definitely not good enough. Tuggy brought up, and this one's probably a valid person, bring up Calidio on Tigres. And he just got a move there.
Tigres.
I feel like Calidio's been on every team in the world over the last, like, 2 years. Like, the dude was in St. Truden at one point. He's played, like, all right, so he was at St. Truden. Then he went back to Inter because he was on Inter. I don't know if it was, and I think they sold him. Did they sell him to Tigre? Now he's on Tigre. Feels like he was elsewhere too. I don't know. But Calidio's been pretty good with a solid AA for Tigre over the last, like, year or so. Like, his AA is like 10. It's not like anything special, but it seems like it's more improved lately because he had a lot of subs at the beginning. Stish also has said that this is Calidio's season. I think Calidio, it's reasonable to have him on this list.
We're saying that he's on loan from Inter. And
but yeah, if Calidio's on loan, I'm not interested because
he's loaned.
But it's just at the start of the Argentine season, so it's not like the end of the world. When's his loan till?
I was gonna say the fine folks over at Wikipedia say it was supposed to be December, which obviously is not the case if he's still playing.
Well, maybe they bought him.
Maybe they extended it.
So per transfer market, he is on loan till the summer. So
yeah, which is probably why that's what we have.
They extended till July. So Stish, is he just in at Tigre till July and then he's back to Inter?
It sounds like it's
or like is his Inter contract over as well? Because I that would probably make me steer clear of Calidio. That's just not long enough time frame for me. Supposedly that Inter is selling them to him, or supposedly that he's going to be back at Inter in 6 months. Apocalypto just said, is it better getting Almada or Puig for the summer? For me, it's Puig. It's not. He seems to be the one most likely to stay, and I think he's also better.
Puig, it's like no doubt for me that it's Puig.
Yeah. So Stish said that I think Stish thinks he's going back to Inter in the summer. I probably am not interested in Calidio then for that reason. But I have no issues with what Calidio's been doing from a production standpoint.
Yeah. We cut our list from 100 to 52. That obviously included a few players that aged out that I included on here. So thank you for everybody who.
Goalies? When we went through, did you remove goalies?
I don't think so.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you remove goalies and defenders? I feel like we didn't cut down goalie and defenders much. Okay, you did.
Yeah.
What did
this
you
is
do?
The goalie list now.
Let's go. Let's look at the defender again and see what defender looks like.
Here we can just do it. 14 defenders. 14,
yeah, no. Let's go see who they are.
Good distribution.
Yeah, let's go see who the defenders are. Let's see if we can cut anyone else. Yeah, I'm probably dumping Lehan Bum, Panzo.
Yeah.
Bassey.
Really?
I'm dumping Kalulu too. He's been just horrendous.
I think we can keep Bassey with the expectation that Timber leaves.
Stitch said he expects another move into maybe South America for Calidio. I don't disagree with that. It's just too much unknowns, I think, for me on Calidio. Also with the Kuiper, you got to make sure you get the defender card.
The defender card, yeah.
Better than the mid card. But he has both.
Yep. The midfielder card's not bad, but the defender card is definitely better.
Correct. Yes.
In fact, I'm not sure. Let me double check here. I don't know if he has any.
He has mid super rares.
I know. I was going limiteds. I don't know if he has any defender limiteds because I don't think he has any Bruges limiteds.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
So for those of you who
Baptiste confirmed that no limited defenders for the Kuiper.
Yep. So he'd probably be his defender card would be much more.
I will say that an interesting takeaway from this is that the market is pretty accurate.
Agreed.
In my opinion. Like the market does like and prices the people that I view as the best options. Tuggy actually just brought up a good potential person on the defender list, and that's Jared Branthwaite from PSV. I think he's viable to be on the list. He hasn't shown the high-end scores that you really want yet, but this is a guy with like a pedigree from Everton. Like he's played in the Premier League. It seems reasonable to me that Branthwaite could be someone that you would want as well. So that's a good shout on Branthwaite.
Was that
Baptiste is talking about like a lot of the guys just in general, and that they are not for people that are out there looking for cheaper options. Yeah, this show was not about like giving people like cheap options per se at certain positions.
Just the opposite, actually.
Yeah, we're looking at like who are the best people. So like one thing so before we started, actually, our good friend Tuggy DM'd me, and he's asked if this show was like directly sponsored to Tuggy. So for those unaware, Tuggy is selling all of his U23 guys because I would say that he's come to the realization that like when I said like guys that he was playing were not good enough. But I think he more so just is stubborn and is like, if I don't get a T2 by this time, I'm going to sell him. And so Tuggy is selling his U23 guys. But like this is a good visual, I think, for people to look at. If you're getting players that like maybe aren't on this list, not saying that's bad. Like I have tons of guys not on this list that I use occasionally here and there. But if you're looking at guys that are not on this list, you need to be like, can they be comparable to guys on this list? Because if you're looking at a guy and you're like, wow, this guy averages 51 points a game, I think I'm going to get him. And then you look and you're like, oh, Antonio Silva's like a 65 average guy that just never has a bad game. Hamey said, really, no Jesus. We have Jesus Ferreira on.
Yeah, he's on the list.
He's on.
Somebody pointed out, and I just double checked, Branthwaite's on loan. So
there you go.
He could be going back to Everton.
Metal Gear brings up a good name. Anis Zarawi from Burnley. He's been pretty solid. The issue is that he just isn't put up huge spikes. Like he's not a guy that's going to go out there and like rip like a 98 for you. But he definitely is someone that's solid. Yeah. Hachini says, so this summer in goalkeeper, it's Osako and Celentano only, and then maybe Pulskamp. There's more than that, Hachini. Yeah. But Osako's like the one that is like, this guy is clearly the starter that does not age out this summer, that is on a decent team. He's like the only one that fits every bills. And the good place brings up Chris Brady. In theory, Chris Brady's a great option to have because he's a decent prospect. Like there's been discussion that they think he is better than
Slonina.
than Slonina. And we've already seen Chelsea pay a boatload for Slonina. So like his actual prospects are pretty high as a goalkeeper. So the issue is like when we're talking about it, like Osaka's the one clear cut guy that you don't have super huge worries on.
Right.
And obviously like that's sort of what you're trying to do. Not to mention like if I look at Osaka's current rare price is 1 ETH, and I think his last sale was 0.9. If I look at Brady, and Brady has question marks, I can't guarantee that Brady's gonna start. Brady's last sale was at 0.725 and his floor is 0.9. Wow. So if you're putting these two things in front of me, I'm like, I'm gonna take the guy that's like the no-brainer over the guy that has a lot of question marks around him.
Yeah, nope, that's right. I was gonna make a joke because you gave Tuggy a compliment on the Brathwaite, and then you just tore him apart on.
I didn't tear Tuggy apart. I said Tuggy is finally.
You couldn't let us end on a nice like compliment to Tuggy.
I gave Tuggy a compliment. Tuggy is finally realizing that what he is doing is not good enough. All right, so here's a question for you. Tuggy has an Enzo Lafie who him and his burner Fling Flong have discussed as the best U23 mid there is. How much generation do you think Enzo Lafie has got for Tuggy this
I'm not playing this game. I'm not using the end of the show to Tuggy.
We love you, Tuggy. We love Tuggy. Tuggy provides us a lot of good stuff to talk about, honestly. So we will give Tuggy a compliment. Tuggy is like the best content provider for our show. See, I gave Tuggy multiple compliments in one show. Tuggy is appreciative of the compliments that he's getting. But the Brathwaite call was a good call. Because Brathwaite, like he said, if Everton go down, Brathwaite in the championship would be pretty strong.
Yeah, but he wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, maybe he would.
This is Tuggy's day. I've given him multiple compliments.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop us here before you start taking them all back, to be honest. So thank you to everybody who has joined us live, including Tuggy here, getting all these compliments. If you guys could please hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, that would be really great. So yeah, as a reminder that this watch list, which is now public and is in the description of this video, you can just search it also, just U23 for 2023-24. If you hit the little heart on the list, then it'll show up on your watch list page when you use SorareData, either on desktop or on the mobile app, so you can just check everything out. So thank you to everybody for joining us, and we'll be back next week, also a different day though. So if you were expecting, I'm going to tell everyone right now, if you're expecting to watch us on Monday, it's not happening. We're going to have a different day next week. So anyway, thank you everyone. And